Greetings, heathens and heretics, and welcome to another episode of In the Abyss. I hope everyone listening is good. Welcoming back the voice of reason this week after a bit of absence, so it's always good. Special one this week, though, because I'm pretty sure we mentioned it once or twice towards the end of last year that Urne's A Feast on Sorrow was our album of the year. I think it may have come up once or twice in conversation. So what better way to celebrate that than to drag Joe back on for another chat and to discuss what 8 records he would take to a desert island. Because, you know, why the fuck not? Joe, welcome back. Thank you for coming back.
Cheers, mate.
Giving us your time.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem at all, mate.
Like I said, we'll get on to the records in a minute, but we have to talk quickly a little bit about A Feast on Sorrow, because when we first spoke last year, and I think it was it sort of June, July last year, just before the album came out, and, saying how much we were looking forward to it. It was a little bit of hype building around it, and then it dropped. It dropped the weekend you played Bloodstock, and we absolutely fucking loved it. It was pretty much unanimous across all of us that it was our album of the year. You happy with the way things have turned out with that? And
yeah, I think I fairly am. Things could always be done, be better. It's unless I was here, and we had that sort of sleep token jump, but we haven't. But I'm happy with it. I'd say it was weird compared to, because the bigger you get, the more there might be a few people go, oh no, I think the last one's better. Fair play. The last one
always get
was a bit more. There's a bit more going on. I did see one person say we were our biggest letdown, and I was like, well, fuck me. If we let you down, and I think he had Metallica 72 Seasons as his favourite album, I thought, you're winding me up, mate. I'm really, I'm happy enough with it. Again, like, there's always things we could do better, be it us, fucking artwork, production, lyrics, fucking touring. There's always something, and that's why you go back and you do it again, and you tweak little things that you want to have done, like have better. Really positive reviews. Made it in the Metal Hammer top 15, smallest band in that whole top 30. I think probably the only band we haven't had an article in that magazine. So fucking sort that out.
Yeah.
And I think last time they had the top 30 bands on the front cover, apart from us. Beat that one.
That's not on, is it?
Yeah, I wouldn't have me on the front cover anyway. But it's funny. But yeah, no, it's done well. Like I say, a lot of favourable reviews. There was one from an American site where apparently I'm shit at singing and shouting, and the production's terrible. And I thought, well, do you know what I mean? Can't win them all, but you're clearly a fucking idiot. So yeah, but mate, I'm buzzed with it, and it's opened up a lot of doors for us. And we went out and did some great shows in the summer, great festivals, really, really great UK tour. Hit a lot of places we've never hit, but the places we have hit before, we really saw a jump up. Yeah. Really saw fucking like Birmingham, which is notoriously hard, I think, unless you're from Birmingham. London, Milton Keynes, Brighton, Bristol were real jump up from when we last played, especially Bristol. Didn't know what was going on. So yeah, that's quality.
Nah, good. I mean, I missed you. Well, we both did. It just didn't fucking work out, unfortunately. But
I noticed.
Yeah, I know, because that's the second time. But we'll rectify it next time, I promise.
Yeah, I'll be on you.
Yeah, all right. But please do. Yeah, no excuses. But you're going to go out and do a tour in France now with Avatar in it, which is that's an interesting one, because we're just talking offline before we came on that they're a band that are a lot bigger than people may think. So what are you expecting from that tour? Because you did the Gojira thing in big fucking arenas, and this is a different kind of thing altogether.
So I always want for every sort of metal tour we do, I'd love to do something either a bit different, or be it I'd love to go out of like Alter Bridge I'd like to go out with Gojira. I'd like to go out with flipping Avatar. I'd like to go, I want to mix it up. Growing up, favorite band Metallica. You look at some of the tours they did, working their way up, and you don't want to keep yourself by playing into the same metal people. And funny enough, obviously, due to our relationship with Joe Duplantier and Gojira, we've built up a bit of a fan base in France and surrounding countries. Again, being completely fucking ignorant, I didn't realize how many countries surrounded France. And so, got people coming over. We've got friends coming over from the borders, to come and see us. And
yeah, somebody we know is traveling down from Ghent actually to come and see you at one of the shows, I think. So,
quality, lovely. Yeah. I mean, it's cool like that. And we also, over the years before pre-Gojira relationship, we've had French fans kind of come along with us. And what we are noticing now is there are people that are coming for us. And a lot of it's tied back to obviously that relationship that, and in France, the biggest band they've ever sort of had that's broke out of France is Gojira.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a good thing. So either we're going to go there and most of the audience are going to know that band, and which helps. And for us, we've never played France. We've played in so many other countries, but we've never actually played France. And what's kind of cool about it, it's not playing like Paris Central. It's playing an hour outside, but then all the other cities are not cities that often pop up when you see a big tour poster.
Yeah.
You don't often you'll see Paris and maybe Bordeaux or something, but this is hitting a load of other places. And I looked at the routing, some of the venues, they have really nice sizes. And then I like to research the venues, and there's some unreal venues with beautiful cities. We're very fortunate. We got 3 days off, one in Toulouse, one in Strasbourg, and one in Nîmes, all beautiful cities. And we even, I text Joe and I was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah, you're playing our hometown. And, so obviously we're going to get a picture as we enter our place. And so, yeah, it's cool. I went and met Avatar last month, and they seem really nice dudes. I'm not really too familiar in what they do and their kind of background, but they seem to be big on the band, which is great. And they seem to have a really good personality, both on and off stage, I guess. And their whole crew, some of their sound guys helping us out for a few shows, no issue. I help you, blah, blah, blah. And everyone seems to be really nice. And I think I said to you off there, like, even our management reached out going, we're really excited about having them and seeing what they're going to do beyond this point, which is great. So, and just clearing up on the old French. I've been watching a lot of Eric Cantona documentaries to get myself into condition. So, yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I'm ready.
It'll be wicked. So after that, let's get you back and playing some shows in the UK, so I can I can make good on my promise. Right, let's crack on then. So for anybody who doesn't know the format, we've done this 2 or 3 times before. The first time was a drunken mess, so we thought we'd try it again, and it kind of got better. But for those of us of a certain vintage, will know of it was Radio 4. Was it Radio 4?
That was one of them.
Yeah, one of those, wasn't it? Radio 4.
One of them.
A desert island disc. Yeah, so you're stuck on a desert island in the middle of nowhere, and you get to take your 8 favorite records. And we've done 8 records, a luxury item, and an essential metal T-shirt because why not? So look, it doesn't have to be 8 metal albums. It can be whatever sort of flicks your switch. But if it goes too far down the wrong way, we'll switch off and stop right there. So we'll see what happens. So what's number 1 on the list then? Joe, what you got?
The waddy. Nah. So let me. Right. Let me get me.
That's a conversation. That'd be good. I'm up for that.
Right. So I did have a few. I've just gone for metal and rock. Well, mainly metal. Do you know what I mean? I need the public to know that I'm willing to live and die for metal.
Yes.
So
die by the sword.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that, but we'll have a chat later. So I did have some bands having two albums, and then I was just like, you know what, let's mix it up. So the first one I've wrote is Magma by Gojira.
I had a feeling there might be a bit of Gajira in the mix there somewhere.
I wasn't sure what one to put because currently I've been listening a lot to Fortitude, and I know a lot of the fans kind of moaned because it's not like a straight kind of death metal album. It has some moments, and the production's slightly different. But when I kind of get past all that, some of the song craft, I think some of the best stuff they've done. And I think there's a really load of like interesting layers. And sometimes, you know, you have to turn down the volume to pick out them layers. Because sometimes when it's all cranked up, them little textures of different things. And it's weird listening to that because some of the percussion and what have you, I'm like, oh, I know what that is now because we've got that on A Feast and Sorrow, you know?
Yeah.
But Magma was the reason that when this opportunity did arise, that I was like, not only is the production massive and it feels real and there's loads of great textures and Joe sounds great and it's, you know, it's got some, you know, it's less death metal-y, you know, but what the album in some of its songs mean, you know, it's got a heavy subject matter behind some of it.
Yeah.
And obviously so does A Feast and Sorrow. And when we first met Joe in Copenhagen, I was explaining to him what the album was about. Backstage, there was Jean-Michel, there was Johan, who engineered the album, Taylor, our tour manager, me and Angus. And I started talking to Joe about it, just one-on-one. Everyone else is talking. Then when we started talking about the kind of heaviness behind what I was writing about, and I was like, I know you'll get it and you can connect because you've recently been there. It went really silent. And it was like everyone was just paying attention to me and Joe talking. And it felt like in that moment, like, and I started to explain some things about my dad and what have you. And that was Otis. Sorry. And there he is. And in that moment, I was like, he gets it. He knows what we need to do here. And I think with that, he didn't really want to touch the songs. He wanted to create a vibe that suited the songs and the atmosphere and an energy.
Yeah.
And you know, as you know, compared to the last album, it's a lot more aggressive and a lot more powerful and a lot more anger behind it. And when you think about the heavier songs on Magma, but that was the song that was the album that I was like, I want to do this with that. I want to record that with this team and what have you.
Yeah. So that's kind of your album that's got a deep root. That's a personal thing, and something like that.
Yeah, totally. And that was sort of changed a lot of things for us and led us on this kind of little path we're going on.
How far back had you been into Gojira at that point?
Do you know what? It's a band that I've been on and off. Angus was much more into Gojira than me. And then we saw him at a festival probably 9 years ago now. 9 years ago? Yeah, 10 years ago. And I just remember looking at Angus. I was there with a couple of mates. And I can't remember what they were playing. And I looked at Angus and I was like, that's a liberty, that is. I didn't know what else to say because it was so ridiculous. I didn't know what was going on. And I'd listened to them and whatnot. I think I had Levant Sauvage, or I had one of the albums on vinyl. I can't remember. I've got them all now, so I can't remember which one it was. And I just remember looking at Angus, shaking my head, being like, when you see a band that's that good, it's a fucking joke. And you start cracking up. Like, I actually start laughing about, like, you are so good at what you do. It's so funny. And like in the summer, I saw Sepultura and I was side stage watching Eloy, who is on another level to, I think, any
Fucking
metal drummer.
machine.
I've never, there was about 40 people in Flames, Killswitch Engage, Obituary, Bleed From Within, us, Pest Control. Everyone was side stage watching this guy laughing because he's that good. And that's the thing I got when I first saw Gojira, whatever, 2000 and whatever it was. Might be 2014. And yeah, so to kind of fast forward, James has been into them longer, you know, but he didn't know we were doing this because he only joined the band 7 weeks before, 7 or 8 weeks before. So, but yeah, it was a hell of an experience. And I just remember looking at Angus, just shaking my head, just laughing. I just didn't know what else to do. I was just like, fucking hell.
I've got to put some more effort in with Gojira because I don't know what it is. There's so much, everybody I know, I mean, Ant does as well, absolutely fucking loves them. And I don't know what it is. I should do, but there's some, I don't know, maybe I'm not giving the right effort. I don't know what it is.
Well, again, it's they just do something a bit different, don't they? You know, it's something that either really clicks with people, or you've just got to put a bit more work in, or it just doesn't. And they've always been one of those bands. I mean, I'm not going to claim to be a massive fan, but I think I've kind of always got that. I mean, having said that, I've only managed to see them once.
Yeah, I am listening. So my cat's gone behind the TV.
Wonderful, brilliant. That was at Donington Download in 2016. When they did the main, or whatever. I don't know. There's so many tents at Donington these days. But obviously that was the Download weekend. Of course, it was muddy everywhere, but that was easily the best set of the weekend for me. They were absolutely phenomenal.
This is what I feel though. Anyone who sees them, it's like our mate Tony. She come out of us doing merch in the summer, and it was a brilliant day. It was in Vienna, an open air venue, and she texted her husband going, I can't believe what I'm seeing. It feels like a spiritual moment. And Tom was like, yeah, like, and she was like, did you know? And he was just like, if you know, you know. And she was just like, I've never just been like a wave of sound and crushed. She was just like, it was like a spiritual moment watching them. And and when you get it, it's just like, yeah, there's no better band. And I think there's a reason why, you know, the bands above them all look to them.
Yeah.
And, you know, and but right, that's my one.
I'm going to go away and make a more conscious effort.
I think maybe it's a bit of a cliche, but I do think their own nationality, the fact that they're French, actually makes a difference and means they can do something like that. And it works basically. And so yeah.
As an attempted vocalist, so many modern screamers and whatnot try to rip off and do what Joe Duplantier does with his voice, but the guy's French American, has a really unique accent, and people try to replicate that now. You can't. You're doing an impression of the guy's real voice.
Yeah.
And it's a tone that so many people are after now. And watching him, he done some stuff, you know, and I'd see him warm up in the mornings in the studios, and it's intense. It's intense. And, you know, I really felt on this record, he tried some different things vocally. And I love the fact that you can hear his accent coming through. So yeah, that's the one for me.
That's the Gojira loving sort of bit done then, will it? Yeah. What's next on the list? Let's go, number 2.
Now, if this had the production that we all dreamed of, there's nothing that touches it, and it's Metallica and Justice for All.
I thought you might say that, yeah. But as soon as you mention production, it's like you know exactly where it's going, don't you?
It's for me.
I mean, we remember it for what it is, and I don't know if you change the production, it's really hard to quantify what it would sound like.
I don't think you need, when people go, oh, bass. If you listen to the original Puppets without the remaster, it was never bass heavy.
No,
Metallica only got bass heavy Black Album to Reload.
Yeah,
and like not bass heavy, but you could clearly hear that.
Yeah.
All it needed was just, honestly, just for me, say there's a little notch, like 1 to 10. It's currently on 1. Just put it to 3. Just put it to 3. Lovely. That's it. Lovely jubbly. Maybe just bring the volume up a little bit. But I think regarding what I like as a songwriter, musically, like the stuff that they went on for this album, I love. And every now and then I'll put it all on, put it all the way through. And when, I know it's played out because we all grew up watching fucking music TV, but when that war scene starts playing and you hear the intro to One, for me, that's about as perfect as music, because in just that that sounds so sad.
Yeah.
It's that whole thing, and it takes me back to the first time I heard it. Takes me back to the first time I saw the video, and I'm in awe of that till this day. And the fact of what they were like 20, what were they, 26, 25 to 26, yeah. And I'm like, wow. And people to this day are still trying to rip off that band. We are not that version of the band. That version of the band from 82 to 90 fucking 2. Because people try and slag the Black Album off, and I'm like, every band would want a Black Album.
Fucking
trust me.
Yeah,
let me tell you.
Times. Yeah.
Yeah, let me tell you. If any band would want Wherever I May Roam riff, you know, sad but true riff. Fucking, if they say not, they're bullshitting. They're liars. It might not be the best Metallica album, but it's the best produced, that's for sure. But this album, and then for me, when it gets down to the middle section in To Live Is To Die, fuck, man. And there's so many things I look to. There's the line in Dyer's Eve, "Dear mother, dear father, you clipped my wings before I learnt to fly." What? That's so heavy. That's so deep, knowing what Hetfield's background was.
Yeah.
And it's just fucking hell. And even the reverse to Blackened, to reverse the intro and listen to it both ways, it both sounds amazing. And then, I don't know, there's that band at that time, growing up watching the live shit, 89 thing. And that to me, for that period of time, that version of Metallica, obviously, Cliff is a far superior bass player and unique to what Jason was. But I watched that. What Jason did was get the fans on his side by giving a shit and doing it live, giving it 100, 110, 120% every night. And that, for me, that period of time, 86 to 89, that's the greatest heavy band that's ever fucking existed. And they knew it. And I fucking love it. I fucking love it.
I've always said that Justice tour, 88, 89, that's the time I would love to. They were on absolute fire then. Hetfield's voice, the power, the sound, even the stage production they were getting then, it was just, everything was just fucking right.
And the Killers, I mean, if you go back and watch some amazing bootlegs, and people want to be like Lars. No, Lars learned how to drum from about 84 to about 89, and then he got rich. And it's like football players. Do you still have the passion when you're going to bed in silk pajamas? He became rich.
Yeah.
Listen to the unique off the cut. There's a drum fill in fucking Blackened where it literally changes. It's fucking, I can't even figure it out. And I watch drummers try and play it, but no one played it the same as what he recorded. But it's that, for me, I love that. I could look at that booklet and just look at them, and you know, it's probably the only time in my life I'd look at someone like Lars Ulrich and go, that geezer looks proper cool, because it ain't ever happened ever since. But that, to me, that's as good as it gets. And the songwriting on that, even things like "I the Beholder," just that just so heavy,
it is way
so tough.
Yeah.
And like "Frayed End of Sanity" and fucking hell. The only maybe slight bit, the middle section of "To Live Is To Die," the heartbreaking bit, that, you know, I listen to that and, you know, it's as sad as the end of Ghost with Patrick Swayze. It kills me. Like, the only thing with that,
what a reference,
is the start to get to it, and the bit after it pales in comparison to that bit.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Whereas I think Orion and Call of Cthulhu to get them to the middle sections, maybe where they mellow out or they get bigger. The build-ups and the tail-offs are superior. But that middle section into Live Is To Die, heartbreaking.
Yeah, see, if that's the only sort of slight you can take from an album, that it's fuck all, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, there's been a lot of people sort of praising that album specifically, and I think in previous episodes. So I'm gonna have to sit down with it properly. I know it, but I just need to focus on that one evening. I think just not do anything else. But that was released in '88, so we know that was a bit of a progressive year for metal with a lot of albums that came out. It was it's key, but with the production and that mechanized sound, I know there's no electro gubbins, but could we maybe call it a somewhat industrial album, because it does have a sort of different kind of vibe, doesn't it?
But there's a clickiness.
Yeah,
there's a clickiness to the kick, which would 4 or 5 whatever years later, Fear Factory come along and have that weird clicky. Not for everyone, but it's got that, and a lot of the kind of chops that Lars does. He done the famous China and a snare with the kicks behind it, and you fast forward and you get Fear Factory doing a, and people love it or hate it. I come from that little Danish bastard.
That little Danish bastard. He's never had the credit he's deserved, I think. Look, he's iconic, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
So
we played Copenhagen Festival, which is like Denmark's download. And I went, if it wasn't for your lot having sex, we would never have Metallica. They bloody loved it.
What a great way to put it.
So
right.
So that's
all right. Let's go for number 3 then. What's next?
I think this is the best album from 2010 to 2020. Let me just double check. I'm not going to contradict myself. Behemoth the Satanist.
Yeah, see, I hear a lot of people like this. People say this is one of the greatest metal albums of all time and all sorts. And why this particular one?
Because they went from being extreme. The album before was like this extreme fucking metal album, and the production was so unique. It had huge songs, and then Nurgle got, I think, leukemia. Then they came back.
Yeah.
They came back and they headlined Bloodstock 2012, and which was 2 years before this. And I went to see them. Me and a couple of my mates drove up, and it was just a quality weekend. Like our little mate David, he was driving. He parked in the wrong car park 2 decades away. It was stressful as fuck. But we finally got there, and I think it was the first night Behemoth played.
Yeah, I was there.
And it's in the top 5 things I think I've ever fucking seen. It was just the right vibe. If you get your mates with you and you've had a good beer and everyone's up for it, I was just like, fucking hell, that's amazing. Then I never would have thought 2 years down the line they would have put out something that has its extreme moments. It has its rock moments. There's so many cool textures and layers. Nurgle's lyrics are so spot on. I think what is it like? The first line is like, I saw the serpents. I don't know. He says the word cunt straight away, and I was like, big time, mate. Don't waste no time. Get straight in there. And I was like, fucking hell. But I remember seeing the video for the song Blow Your Trumpet, Gabriel. And I was just like, that band do music videos better than any band that's alive as well. It's an event. And I was just like in awe. And every song they released leading up to it with a video, it was just like a cinematic experience. And I remember sitting with my old housemate, and they released a video for the last song on the album, Oh Father, Oh Satan, Oh Son. And me mate Paul, we sat there in his living room and we put it on fucking the old 4K, whatever. And we sat there for 8 minutes just in like awe. And it was like the art, it's all art for me. It's like the front cover, a powerful painting, the lyrics, the the videos, just the whole concept of it, it all tied in, and it's such a special, special album. And the albums they've done since are really good, but they set the bar so fucking high that it's like only few bands can go and then top that. The album they did before was unbelievable, and I can't believe they topped that. The album before that was unbelievable. But it's like the Metallica thing. Keep topping it and topping it, and you get to a point where it's like, we're not going to be able to do that now, so we're going to make an album like the Black Album. We're going to go completely the other, like, one way. Whereas, honestly, everything about the Satanists, and I listen to it now, and it's whatever it is, 10 years old, it sounds like just the production and just the ideas and the risks. They took so many risks, and it just paid off. It's an amazing piece of art that, wow, I think any band would be proud to have. And his voice is menacing, it's aggressive, it's powerful, it feels important. And the amount of people I know, musicians and things, you go to Satanists, they go, yeah, it's one of them we all wish we had. Like the Black Album, we wish we had that. We wish we had the Satanists.
That's the album you put on when you're losing your mind on a desert island, isn't it? And you start summoning the devil. That's, you know,
yeah, big time.
Gone fucking, yeah.
And I'll be still waiting. I'll be like, yeah, no one's coming for me. I'm stuck here. Fuck's sake.
Yeah,
but it's a great piece of art. Whereas other albums, I think, you know, like other albums on here, I'd go, the music's great, blah blah blah. The whole thing with the Satanist, it's a piece of art.
Fair play. Like I said, a lot of people say it's a proper 10 out of 10 album, and that's a hard one. That saying that about anything, any record that's ever been made, saying it's a 10 out of 10 is it's a bold claim. So yeah, it's fair play. All right, let's have a luxury item then. So you get to take one luxury item with you to make your life a little bit easier. What would it be?
So I was umming and ahhing about this, but then the answer came pretty easy after about 5 minutes of stupidly umming and ahhing. I have a very funny looking cat called Otis, who looks like an old man. He's exotic and Persian. He's looking at me now. He looks livid. I'd have to take him because not only is he like a little mate, I look at his face like I am doing now, and it cracks me up. He looks like a puppet from like an 80s film, an 80s fantasy film. That's what he looks like. And I just look at him and I'm like, I can't believe you're considered a cat. And yeah, he's here now. He's licking his bum. Yeah, what are you doing? He's off.
So just sit there and sing the magic dance to him.
No, mate, it's just I just sit there, and like my friend's got the same sort of breed, but they look completely different. And he's like, I look at him and I think, what is he thinking? And I look at Otis and I feel the same. I'm like, what is? And because I can't explain it unless he comes over here, he just looks like a miserable old man. And I've got a video of him once where I was having fish and chips or pie and chips, turned around and he nicked a load of butter off my bread and it was all stuck on his chin. And he's trying to lift it off, but his eyes, he's got watery eyes. So I took a video of him and then I put audio of the Queen doing a speech over it because he looked like a really passionate old English boy. And it's God Save the Queen being played whilst Queen Elizabeth is doing a speech. And it kills me. Just, the things that make you laugh. Got a lot of time on my hands, lads. And yeah, and I'll just go back and I'll just watch things. And because he just looks so miserable, it's so funny. And but yeah, I'll take Otis with me.
Well, I hope he fully appreciates how important he is because, cats, they can be a little bit.
He knows.
My cat's a complete cunt. I hate it. So,
like my mum's obsessed with, when she comes around, she's obsessed with Otis. And honestly, it's because he just looks like, I can't even, just looks like an old bastard. I love it. Born on Christmas Eve. I'd have him.
I think that's the best one. Yeah, we had some ridiculous luxury items when we did this first time round. One was somebody suggested taking the London Astoria with them.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
A cat makes a little bit more sense at least.
Mate,
yeah.
Fucking hell. Yeah. What I would do to see one more gig in that venue.
I know, it sucks, doesn't it?
It's heartbreaking. Because I always used to go around that area because there was always things around there, and there are still things around the Charles area. But Tottenham Court Road Tube Station, it's nice and easy. And I make a point of avoiding that because it's just heartbreaking seeing what that area is now without those venues.
Yeah, mate, it's I used to love it. I was talking to my mate about Slay yesterday, and we're talking about. They did like 3 nights on the God Hates Us All tour at the Astoria, and someone's got a bootleg.
Yeah, it was one of those. Yeah.
And he was like, "Do you remember they took that shit new metal band out of them?" And I was like, "Yeah," and they got booed off stage, obviously. But someone's uploaded a bootleg of one of the shows on YouTube, and it's just fucking. I just remember, didn't know what it was. Chaos. Me and a couple of schoolmates bunked off, and it was chaos, mate. And I would do any. I've seen some gigs I've seen there where I was just like, I would do anything.
It was always good. The sound was always good. It was just the right size. Everything about it was, such a fucking great venue. Great venue.
Oh, God.
There you go.
Lots of stories. But...
I think anybody who's ever been there is going to have stories to tell about it. Aren't they? It's weird how one venue can have that much of an impact. It's just a big fucking room full of people, but it's
well. Funny enough, that leads me on to the next thing.
Yeah, let's go.
The Astoria. This is probably the most important album, I guess, to me, because it came at a bad time in my young life at the time, and I got a ticket to see this band. £6 do their first UK tour, and it was at the Astoria, and it was on the Roadrunner Road Rage tour. Killswitch Engage, Alive or Just Breathing. Now I remember, mate, privileged as I am, friends with Joel from Killswitch Engage, friends with Jesse and Adam. It's been brilliant. I used to eat when I was a kid. I used to email Jesse and I'd send over bootlegs. And I was in school, and we didn't have like internet at home, or the proper internet. And I remember getting whatever magazine, Kerrang, and I was a fan of Killswitch, like due to like accidentally, illegally downloading stuff. Back in the day, I was like, no, I don't want to steal music. I'm Kazaa. No, I don't want to download. And in about 2000, when you're sort of finding your way and what you like, I downloaded a song called Soilborn off the first Killswitch album EP thing, and that was it. And I remember like Ian Canfield, was it? He played a new song on XFM.
On XFM,
It was Self Revolution. I taped it, the old tape and record. Got out fucking, and I was recording it loads in a row. So I'd be going to school, 4 shit versions of it on me headset, on me Walkman, and But I remember getting Kerrang or whatever it might be, and I opened it up, and it was a tiny article, and it was like Jesse Leach has parted Killswitch Engaged. They have replaced him with Howard Jones from Blood Has Been Shed. Now, thankfully, I love Blood Has Been Shed, but I was so angry that I was like, he deserves more than that. And in the end, I was like, fuck him. And I feel really bad about it now because he's a lovely guy. But I was like, nah, fuck him. I prefer Howard. But I just remember being at the Astoria, and I was at the front, mate. I was buzzing. I was fucking and I went at the front the whole night. I was just like, I need to see this. This is like this was my band. And they come out, and I remember a geezer behind me. He's like, fucking hell, he looks different. Because obviously Jesse's this small white dude, and Howard's like fucking some unit that could have been that bad bloke in Friday. He comes out and he's like, fuck me. He and half look different. Like, and I was like, oh, yeah. And I just remember that like solidified it and as my band. And then I saw him at the Mean Fiddler with Poison the Well and Beecher.
I was at that show.
Got another Yeah, fucking what a lineup that is.
Beecher
And
were
it's
an
funny
awesome
now.
band.
Yeah. And Poison the Well. And it's funny, Poison the Well, one of them bands and things now where everyone's like, oh, I love Poison the Well, I love Poison the Well. And it's like, well, no one was going to see them at the end.
Yeah.
So you couldn't have loved them that much. I remember going to see them and there was like half a crowd. You couldn't have loved them that much. And now everyone goes, oh, fucking hell.
It's ridiculous. I think, because one of them, he formed a sort of hipster duo with, called Sleigh Bells, didn't he?
Oh, right.
Yeah. He just got together with some woman. I think it was a guitarist. Yeah.
Okay.
Some woman, and this was about like 10 plus years ago. But it's basically this sort of weird cheerleader kind of like music. It's quite good for what it is, but it's different.
Yeah.
But, it's worth listening to if you fancy something a bit different. But yeah, they played at Brighton Concord years ago.
Yeah.
And of course, that's a significantly bigger venue, even though it's not huge. And so, funny enough, they were supported by Charlie XCX back in our early days. So that was quite something. But it was a heavy gig, although I was surrounded by people like doing lines of coke right in the pit, which I can't be dealing with at any time. But it was sad. It's like, Poison the Well, man. But I mean, well done still.
That Killswitch album, from the opening, I think that's like up there with the sort of top 5 most powerful, perfect opening 10 seconds of a song. Numbered Days, it comes thundering in, and Jesse's voice. And there was always this thing, Jesse and Howard. Now they're completely different, but I've always been about the passion. Howard is a fantastic studio singer. Live, certain techniques wasn't very clear. Used to give the mic out a lot and maybe cut corners. But Jesse had this immense passion that so little vocalists have this nowadays, because they get so taught and they get so well crafted that they kind of lose their personality. So many of these modern metalcore, people call it metalcore, and I think that's not the right term to maybe call it. Maybe shit or something. I don't know. But so many singers, they sound identical because they watch these videos and they think, oh, I need to do my technique like that. But keep your voice, keep your accent. And that's what I love about Jesse, because he's now become a really great singer, but he had to go through all the bad times to get to there. But he hasn't lost his voice. He hasn't lost his passion or his tone. And I love this album. I love that. I feel like you can hear, and it's weird to say, I love to hear that you can feel that he's falling apart, but it's perfect. His performance on that album, and no wonder he fucking left afterwards. That album, still to this day, 22 years later, it sounds so exciting, so fresh. Like when I listen to what people like as metalcore these days, fucking hell. I'm like, God bless you, but you're missing the special stuff. And I love that album. Was a big one for me. That sort of changed my life of what went from a young age,
It had to be fair, it had a big impact on us as well. Exactly the same kind of thing. And
The
it was
right
timing.
time.
The time that it came out, coming out of new metal, it was like a fucking revelation to us, wasn't it? We were exactly the same.
That came out around the time we graduated with our degree, wasn't it? I think we needed, that period of our life was over. We did a lot of gigs and getting drunk, but it was infected by new metal, and that was like, right, it's fresh. We're adults now, and that's what we need.
That whole time is exciting for me because I was the young lad with a few mates travelling to be at London or to maybe nip into Brighton or something. And over the years, because I was so invested in that scene and I got to know different people, be it via email, whatnot, I've been friends with some of the guys in All That Remains for 20 years. Some of the guys like God Forbid, who are about the most underrated fucking band.
Got a lot of time for God Forbid.
Band. Yeah. Well, prime thing with God Forbid, I always remember chatting to Phil LeBont from All That Remains. When that's the hardest band to tour with. And I was like, well, why? And he went, if they go on after you, they made your set look shit. And if you go on after them, everyone's going to think you're shit compared to the band that played before. Anyway, they're the best. And it was a weird time. Maybe, you know, some people in the world couldn't accept a band with 4 black dudes in it.
Yeah.
And I like, what? And I see a lot of things now, you know, saw someone post something about Viva 333 and I can't remember what band they are. And they was like, oh, why are people not accepting? And I was just like, it's not just today. It's been going on for a while. That God forbid band should have been a much bigger band than they were. Criminally underrated. Proper musicians in that band as well. But yeah, the Kill Switch album, and I was gutted. I loved the End of Heartache. I've been up and down with it, but as I touch on a couple of albums here where I said that anyone would love it, if I had the End of Heartache as the next album, I'd be cracking up. You would never I would never speak to anyone again. I don't need to deal with this shit anymore. I've got the End of Heartache. And even the song, The End of Heartache, as a kid, I was like, what? Not sure. Now, that's a masterpiece of a song.
Great song.
So simple. But there's a clean version of it where there's no shouting. And I think it's better because you're just hearing Howard just sing this beautiful melody. But I think there's a few dud tracks on the End of Heartache, whereas I don't think there's any dud tracks on Alive or Just Breathing.
Yeah, agree. Yeah.
And I think with Alive or Just Breathing, that aggression as a 13, 14-year-old, I was just like, I need this in my life. And it's out of all these albums, it's had the biggest impact on me.
And it still sounds it now as well, doesn't it? You put it on and it's still got that power. It hasn't lost any.
Yeah, no. It's amazing. It's perfect.
Yeah, 100%. All right, next up, where are we? Number 5? We're number 5th one now, I think.
Yeah. So an album that had a big influence on me regarding songwriting is Nevermore, This Godless Endeavour.
Oh, fucking hell. Didn't see that one coming.
Talking of albums that sound amazing, it still sounds amazing to this day. It's got probably, if you know, it's probably got the best complete all-round metal guitarist that there maybe ever been, be it writing songs, riffs, solos. Jeff, Elite, the whole band were. Warrell Dane, I know people are up and down with the vocals. I prefer to have someone that sounds completely original compared to a lot of shit we're hearing today. But that album, hearing it really changed how I wanted to write. There's that and another album, the next album I'm about to list. As whenever I heard it one of them heard early 2000s, and the other one, obviously, when it came out, Godless Endeavour. I can't remember what year now.
Let's do both at the same time then. Talk about it, because if they both got a similar kind of impact on you, let's have them both.
I'll say that it might be the next 3, but it's certainly the next one. So you've got This Godless Endeavour. The one thing that lets it down, it's got the shittest artwork, mate. They've just gone in like nicked the child outside of a Tesco's and gone, right, looks sad. So yeah, that. But the other one.
Oh yeah. I remember it now. Yeah.
She looks like one of the little troll dolls you should get. And the next one is Death, Sound of Perseverance.
Fair play.
Death, Chuck. I touched on earlier about people trying to kind of mimic what Metallica do. We're 23 years after Chuck's death, and no pun intended, people are still trying to rip off that man, me included. What he left, now everyone can go, oh, blah, 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 it's the best death metal band, blah, blah, blah. But there's a lot of them who sound alike. No one had the uniqueness of Death.
No.
And he felt the fact there's people still trying to use his ideas and whatnot today, even though he's been dead, and Death's last album came out in 1998, to me, it shows me how far ahead he was. And I'm like, wow, what would he have done? And I spoke to a friend, and he really randomly come out of it, and he was like, that guy would have done so many different things musically. He was just like, I wouldn't even be shocked if he ended up doing stuff that sounded like Magma from Gajira. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was just like, not necessarily just songs, it's the risk. It's loads of space and what he could fill in with that space that might not be a guitar, it might be something vocally. And Chuck always had the best musicians. And the Controlled Denied album that they did after Sounds of Perseverance with I can't remember what it's called. It's a great album. I just didn't like the vocals. I wish Chuck was doing the vocals. I wish it was a Death album, basically. But I think that album, now, what's cool with Death, I think my favorite album can change monthly.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I'd say the first big one that had an impact on me was Sounds of Perseverance. And musically, there's stuff on there that I like. So there's like riffs that I would write that would be my take, my influence that I've got from Death and Chuck. But I think when people want to argue about the best death metal band, I'm not the biggest death metal guy. I'm not, walking around like fucking Cannibal Corpse shirt and headbutting a wall or anything. But as far as music, when it comes to actual music, it's them. And I think most other death metal guys would probably be still in awe of what that guy did and what he left us with. And so many people are hungry for more info. They release loads of cool merch. I've seen Death to All a few times, but the lineup they've got now, the sort of symbolic lineup with the guy from Cynic on vocals and guitar, brilliant. And it just made me think, fucking how good would it have been when Chuck was there? And that and Nevermore Godless Endeavor really made me kind of appreciate how metal can be written and what risks you might need to take, and just try to do some stuff that's a little bit different. You get 5-6 minutes to tell a story, and make sure you do. And they were writing this last Control Denied album when Chuck passed. I would do anything to hear what he was going to release. And most of the metal world would. And I think he's a person that his legacy gets stronger and stronger as the years go on. The more kids are hearing it, because it's accessible death metal. It's not like you put it on and you're getting like fucking brutal. You're getting melody and you're getting these hooks and you're getting this uniqueness, and there's valleys. Songs go on the heaviest of heavy, then it mellows out and it takes you on journeys. And they were just so far ahead. He was so far ahead. And I can speak on behalf of pretty much, I would say, bands that do our version of metal. He's like Hetfield to me. He is like Hetfield. And I would love to have seen what he would have done. I think it's such a shame.
Yeah, it is massively. It's funny at Death, because you got Death fans that will always revert back to the very early days, but then there's a lot that say, "Oh no, I don't like it because they went all fucking progressive and soft and all this kind of thing." And yeah, they're a funny one, but everything they've done, it all sounds like Death. Then it's Death. It doesn't matter, from Scream Bloody Gore all the way through to the end. It all sounds like Death. Symbolic is my favorite Death album. Absolutely fucking love it. But at the same time, Leprosy and Scream Bloody Gore are absolute classics. So,
what I love about that back catalogue, you can see the progression. They're taking risks. They're trying more things. And look, if he wants to get that, I'm going to get rid of this member to bring on this member because I feel like he could take us to this next level. Blah, blah, blah. Like, look at that Human lineup. All of a sudden, he had great death metal musicians, and then he got jazz musicians. He got progressive musicians, and it changed the course of it. Humans are a lot of people's favorite albums, that and Symbolic, obviously. But but it just got better and better. And I like the way that it didn't stay. They didn't stick to that one thing. They mastered it out the gate. They done it. Yeah, wicked. Now let's keep going and keep going. And wow, that band, special.
Yeah, fucking special. Yeah, completely agree. But no, I can see how them and Nevermore they kind of entwine. Again, Nevermore were a band I was never a huge fan of. Again, it was down to Warrell Dane's voice. A lot of it. Saw them once with Arch Enemy, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. You had some
long time ago.
Some Irish mates came over just for Nevermore.
Just they were supporting Arch Enemy, and I was impressed with them live. I remember that, but like musically, they never clicked. Maybe now that I'm a bit older and a bit wiser, they may do, but.
I think it's worth it. I remember listening to some of the stuff around that time and being impressed, but I never.
There's a thing. There's an album called Dead Heart in a Dead World, and the sort of rumor, or I think there's truth. Jeff Loomis wrote the album when he was like 15, and then finally recorded it like 15 years later.
I've heard a story along those lines. Him writing music when he was like this age.
And that is insane because there's no music that sounded like that when he wrote that. There's nothing. It's insane. And it's poor. Musically, some of the riffs on that album take the absolute piss, mate. It's fucking ridiculous. It's quality.
All right. Before we do a last couple of albums, then you've been dropped on a desert island. You've got nothing but your pants, but you can take one essential metal shirt with you. What's it going to be?
So I was umming. I was thinking about my first Metallica shirt, but it was a bit of a con. I bought it in H&V Croydon or Virgin Croydon in like 99, and it was a show shirt, but obviously I was never at the show. My first Kill Switch one, which is somewhere, it's grey and it's fucking old. But when I was in Hang the Bastard, we got to play a few shows over a few years with Crowbar, and it was one of my fucking favourite bands to fucking tour with. Saying that, Ern got offered direct support on their Crowbar's upcoming tour, and just doesn't work out. It's not the right tour for us at the moment. But God, it's old now, and it looks quality as well because I've worn it in. Long sleeve. I can't remember what album it's on now. It's gone out my head. And it's got all I gave on the back, and a lot of the time now it's just the front print, but my one's the front, the back, and the sleeves. And I've worn it to death, and it still looks quality. And where it's a bit baggy, it hides a bit of timber that I've put on, and it looks. It's just a cool long sleeve. So I think I would go. I think I would go with that. But yeah, I think I would go with that. But there was definitely a lot of love for the my first Metallica shirt on the Summer Sanitarium tour. It was.
Yeah.
And I also owned a St. Anger shirt, just to let everyone know.
Oh dear!
But
somebody had to.
Anger still owns one. But I got rid of mine because I soon learnt that's the sort you could sort of get bashed up walking around the streets of Streatham and Brixton. So I got rid of it, mate. I was like, I'm fucking not getting done for no one. So yeah, I chucked that out. But Anger still has his one, and it's faded. It looks cool. It looks fucking cool.
Well, fair play to him for sticking true, I suppose. But let's not go into St. Anger. All right, what's next? What else we got?
Here's one that some people might not know, and it was a big album, sort of around 2009, 2010 maybe for me. And I've recently got back into it, and it's got some killer lineup in it. Arsis, We Are the Nightmare, progressive melodic death metal, and they had a few really steady albums, and then they wrote this, and it's got a drummer I've never heard of. He only did this one album, and the technicality of it, it's out of this world. And the guy was also like a big kind of into his glam rock and like kind of cheesy stuff. So there would be some really like cheesy like hooks in it. Then the next album they did after that, they lent a bit too much into that. But Arsis, We Are the Nightmare, I just remember getting it and just there's some ideas on it that's really fucking cool. I think they couldn't keep a steady lineup together, which always has a knock-on effect and stunts the growth with a lot of bands. But it's a great death metal, melodic death metal album for those who've never heard it. The guy's got a really high, screechy voice. The lead guitarist is Ryan Knight, who's in Black Dahlia Murder.
Okay, yeah.
And he left after this album, and he did, oh God, the Green Black Dahlia Murder album. I can't remember what it's called. It's a brilliant album. But yeah, it's a really cool lineup of people. And it's just, like I say, you're hearing these blast beats, all these kind of mad time signatures, and then it might hit into like this really kind of King Diamond flipping Cinderella solo. And you're like, what? And then it kicked back in. Yeah, We Are the Nightmare. And it's just like, it's just really cool. And I've only put that in because I've been listening to it a bit recently for the first time in some years. And again, I'm only putting metal ones in for tonight because my usual go-to is a lot of soul music. We've got Sam Cooke behind me, if you can see that. I'm usually a lot more into my soul music, but I was like, today, you know, as I said to you, I'm only sitting here with a shirt and pants on, sort of doing a Man of War sort of thing. So I thought, let's be metal as fuck. But yeah, it's a bit different. And I've been listening to it again for the first time in a while. So a lot of people might not know that album. And
yeah, I've never heard of them. So I'm going to go and check it out based on the description alone. Yeah. Yeah, never.
Yeah.
That's why we do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Nevermore, saying that, Arsis, Nevermore, Death, and God, I went to say a band from fucking Bromley then. God, oh fucking hell, what are they called? The American band who did Colours.
Between the Buried and Me.
Between the Buried and Me, yeah. Them Colours, Arsis, Death, Nevermore. So the original version of Urne, which had a different name, mean the guitarist in that were listening to these 4 albums religiously, as well as fucking the Dehumanizer by Black Sabbath and Metallica and Justice for All. We're listening to them a hell of a lot. And he's a guitarist that Angus joined the band, and Angus wanted to play with this guy. He wanted to play guitar with this guy. And he sort of taught Angus everything, and he doesn't play guitar or anything anymore. He sort of left. And he left us with all these wicked ideas and everything. And so a lot of the Urne sound on the technical stuff is to come from this guy, but it was a lot of stuff that we were writing when he would have been 15, I would have been 19. And a lot of it was inspired by them 4 albums. So yeah, that's one to check out. Arsis, The Other Night.
Yeah, that'll be one for the commute in the morning. Then I think it's always nice for someone to come on and bring us something we haven't heard, because with these kind of things, it's quite easy to go with something sort of tried and tested and predictable. But yeah, from the description, definitely check them out. And
I think some of the drumming is so out there. It's really, really out there. But it's cool. It's quite unique, I think. And then sadly, the drummer left, the guitarist left, the bass player left, and the next album, it was at the time I remember there being a lot of buzz. And the opening track was something called Starve for the Devil, We Rock, or something like that. And I was like, what? And it's a banger. And it's just like, it's like proper like cheesy licks. But it lost its technicality that made it kind of interesting. And it went a bit too, whatever. Yeah. It's very different.
I'm definitely gonna have to check them out though. That's yeah. I think all right, that's cool. Next one then. What we got? Two left. We got 2 left.
One more.
One more. Last one.
Yeah.
Last one then. So it's final one. What we got?
Right. Okay. This album is an album that clearly inspired Dream Theater.
Oh.
This album is the greatest concept album in metal. This album has, on this list, the greatest vocal performance, because when this guy was on it, he's pretty untouchable. Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime.
Yeah, you were going to say that.
Yeah. This version of Jeff Tate, you're talking, I think, what he could vocally do, I don't know if there was anyone at that time. You got Dickinson at that time was great, Halford, but what Jeff Tate could do from the highs to highs, and he brings in that really deep, really kind of sexy voice. The others weren't doing that. He's clearly an unbearable bastard, though, sadly. But the lineup is fucking great. The lead guitar, Otis.
Here he is.
Here he is. That's his arse as well. Thanks for that.
The guitarist they had, and it kills me. He left them in '94. Didn't want anything to do anymore. And he had popped up randomly about 2 years ago playing guitar at some event. His name's gone out of my head. I can't fucking think. I'm thinking of Warren Diamati from fucking Rat. It's gone out of my head. This guitarist from Queensryche, his songwriting it's fucking brilliant. And after he left, they took him years to do for me what I consider a good album. But they did this and Empire. But this album, it's so great. There's so many different things. Some of it was a massive inspiration on the last Urne album. There's different things. There's fast songs. There's these big stadium rock songs. There's almost like a hair metal song in what's it? I Don't Believe in Love.
Yeah.
I don't believe. But the vocals this guy displays throughout this whole album, I really can't think of another metal record, prog metal, whatever you want, that I think touches it. And I think if this version of Tate was the singer for Dream Theater, wow, fuck.
That's £2 you've got to put in the Dream Theater swell. Twice.
Let me tell, like, I don't love everything Dream Theater's done. But there's 4 albums I bloody love of that band. But the hard thing is to get over is the guy's voice.
Yeah.
But if he was good, he'd be Jeff Tate, you know. But
that's a quote. That's
definitely a quote. Yeah.
But honestly, if people haven't, just put it on and go on the journey. And it ends in Eyes of a Stranger.
Yeah.
And it's just And then how many years later, DT tried to rip it off? Do I have to put money in the swear jar for calling them DT?
We'll let you have that one. 50p for that one.
Cool. Well, they tried to, for me, it's a bit too similar on Scenes from a Memory. I think there's bits where I'm like, whoa, you are very influenced by Queensryche. But it's a fucking fantastic album, and it's got you covered. It's got so many massive moments. But I say, out of this list, I look at it, there's elite drumming from Mario. There's a fucking passionate vocals from Jesse. Elite guitar work from Jeff and Nevermore and Death. But I don't know if the closest that I consider that anyone gets to good is what Jeff Tate does on this. You're probably vocally, I will maybe go to Dio on Heaven and Hell.
Yeah.
But no offense to any of these guys, what Jeff Tate could do at this time, don't think any of them had that range. Like I say, he could do the high, and it's just singing. There's no shouting, there's no screaming. It's just so many different variations of being able to sing. And wow, and the live footage from this tour, unreal. Really, really great album.
To be fair,
yeah,
Yeah, anyone will tell you I am not a prog fan at all, but Mindcrime is yeah, it's up there. It's a special album. I agree with that. Completely agree.
It's an album I'm not familiar enough with, but I do need to come back to it. It's just because it needs the effort.
I don't. It's weird because I consider it a prog album because it's a concept album, but I don't think it's a prog album in a technical sense. But what it is that it goes on a different journey. This song could be 2.5 minutes. That song might be a minute of speaking. The next one might be a 7-minute cashmere sounding song. The end track could be like the best 80s hair metal song. But I don't see it in a prog album in any more sense than it's just a concept album. But get that. Yeah.
It's I touched on this earlier actually, but I've never really seen a definitive article or analysis of this. But what the fuck happened in 1988? Because you had Mindcrime, Justice for All, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, King's X doing Out of Sight of the Planet. I think Fate's Warning released one that year. It's just all of these supposedly prog or prog adjacent metal albums all came out in 1980. It's like, what the fuck happened?
Well, I mean, I guess in that year as well, you had, I know it's not prog, but it's them doing something different. You had South of Heaven, didn't you, in 88? Would that have been 88?
Yeah. Slower.
So them doing something a bit different, some cooler ideas. You know, there was something, and I think Metal Hammer did an article covering the big albums of 88. Halloween, maybe, done some stuff.
I think that was the part 2 of Keys, wasn't it? 88.
Yes, I think that's what it is. And I just think, I mean, what Megadeth they did. No. Yeah, but it's a bit shit in it.
Yeah, it's not the best.
But what I liked from about 88 to 90, obviously we all know what happened in 91, and you know, it's tragic, and you know, it ended a lot of good bands. But 88 to 90, you had some great albums. There's a band that I was a big fan of called Heathen, and they kind of blended that Metallica prog that they did in Justice for All. They made an album called Victims of Deception. A big fan. And we got to play a festival and I got to meet them, and I was like, fucking hell. These are like that kind of level in the thrash terms. You get your Metallicas, Slayers, then you get your Testament, Exodus, then you might have your Death Angel, fucking Forbidden. But these might have just been a little bit under that, but musically fucking superb. But there were some great albums that come around that period where people, okay, we've done our thrash records, we've done this and that. Let's start taking a bit of risk. And it just must have been so much of an exciting time because you're hearing all these different genres of music. MTV's coming out and all these different things are making it. But I think as well, the production in 88 for Mindcrime is unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Sonically, it's a fucking great sounding album.
Yeah. And they tried to do a follow-up, and, you know, unless it's Godfather 2 and a few other rare ones, I don't want to know about a follow-up, you know. So, yeah, very rarely does it come off. But it's definitely an album to go back. And I always think, for me, this is a musician's album as well. And even though there's something for everyone, I think as someone who's trying to be a musician, I listen to this and I'm like, wow, what a great risk, because there was nothing like it at the time. But not everyone's lucky to have A-list top tier vocalist. And we're in a day, you know, at the moment we get told all these guys are great singers, all these girls are great singers. But I go, for me, that's a good singer. Go and listen to Jeff Tate. Go and listen to the first 2 George Michael records. Different category, obviously. Go and listen to these guys. Go and listen to Dio on Rainbow Rising. That's a great singer. That's a great singer with no tricks. That's a proper singer. Halford on some of the early Priest. That's fucking great, you know. And
Soundgarden.
yeah. I mean, I was different. I was watching some Alice in Chains footage from '93 yesterday, and how loud that guy's voice is. It's unreal, unique. That's one thing I don't think we have too much of now. There's that the uniqueness is gone.
It's rare. Yeah,
If
it is. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a mega fan. The Sleep Token thing is very hit and miss for a lot of people. To a lot of people, it's unique. To a lot of people, it's quite annoying. I'm a bit like whatever with it. But at least it's something a bit different. At least he's kind of it's creating a bit of a subject people are talking about. Is he a good singer? Isn't he a good singer? Or what have you? But in today's thing, there's so many singers that I'm hearing where I'm like, you could be one of many.
Yeah.
Whereas people like Tate, Dio, Halford, I just listened to the new Priest song. 74 years of age, he comes in and I'm like, fucking hell. Wow.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's sadly going to be disappearing. And I don't want it to. When people, you know, go, oh, listen to this person, I'm like, go and listen to the start. Go back and listen to the roots of the music. You might find something that really surprises you. Go and listen to Nina Simone. Go and listen to Sam Cooke. Go and listen to Otis Redding. Go and listen to Whitney Houston and people like that. Be inspired by something. If you want to be a singer, be inspired by something that might give you something else that you haven't thought about. Because I'm finding too much of it a bit too similar. And I like to hear the person's character. I want to hear that person's accent. And I used to think I had to try and lose my accent when shouting and screaming. And I don't want to. And if I did, I would end up just sounding like everyone else.
Yeah.
I want people to hear fucking Streatham Ice Rink coming through the fucking speakers at them, you know? And but yeah, when I know obviously I'm just going on, but
no, you fucking talk all night, mate. Not a problem.
Listen to Jeff Tate on that record, and you know it's him. He sings like he speaks. You know that's the same voice as a lot of these guys. You listen to Hetfield speak, you listen to him sing, you go, right, that's what you would expect.
Yeah,
Jesse, Joe Duplantier, like he sounds weird, it sounds different. It's because that's his voice. Nurgle, like has this accent, this thick accent that comes through. Chuck, no one else sounded like that guy. Warrell Dane, no one sounded like that guy.
Yeah, definitely no one else sounded like Warrell Dane.
But this is what I feel like for me, it's a slight worry now, because I'm just hearing too many people who can just go and do this. Recently, one band, Die Art Is Murder, they lost their singer, they replaced him, and no one knows the difference.
No one knows the difference. Nah.
Yeah.
How can that be? How can they sound exactly the same? And I'm like, I'd be more impressed if they went and got a guy who's doing a complete different sound. Be like, that's what Killswitch Engage did. Howard come in with a much more of a rich tone, and it just made everything sound different. Faith No More, you know, bands like that. You go, fucking hell, listen to that geezer's voice. So, but yeah, there you go. There's me putting the world to right. Fucking listen to Jeff Tate.
Well, I'm going to give you a platform. You got to do it, haven't you? But no, I think you'll be quite happy on your island, to be honest, with the list you got. I think, you know, fuck it. I don't need rescuing. I'm quite happy with what I got. Got me cat, got me albums.
Yeah, but it'd be a fucking nightmare when there's no electricity to put the CD player on.
See that comes with it, so don't worry about that. That's all.
Okay, you got the generator from the ship.
Cool, cheers.
Yeah, it was
lucky.
Fucking wicked, mate. Thanks so much for coming on and doing that. It was fucking. It's just great to dig into people's brains and just like wonder what exactly those albums that are just so much more important to you than anything else that, you know, they have to go with you. You know, it's really, because that's what we're here for. That's what we all do. We just sit here for an hour and a half every week and waffle about metal. Half the time pissed as a fart. So,
what's kind of worrying for me, I'd say I look at these lists and I'm like, there's nothing. The newest albums from 2016, and I listen to a lot of these. A lot of these are fucking 30, 20 plus years, 30 years old. And I just think that must have been such an exciting time to listen to this stuff. And it would have been the first time that people have heard an album that sounds like Injustice for All. Nothing had ever been done like it.
Yeah.
First time that anyone's ever heard fucking Alive or Just Breathing. Like, what the fuck? Like, the Satanist. No one, a death metal record hasn't sounded like that since. And I just think, cool, what an exciting time. And maybe it's because, you know, I'm a bit older now and not on the pulse of music. I just have to focus on my own thing. But yeah, it's a great time. It's a great time growing up and finding things for the first time.
Oh, it's massive. It's massive. A good friend of ours is in his early 40s and has just kind of, we've had him on the podcast a couple of times, and he's sort of discovering a love for metal, and he has embraced it fully. And it's just so cool to see someone who's our age and is embracing it, you know, like we did all those years ago. And it's just, I don't know, it's cliched as it sounds, this music has that, can have that effect on people. And it's fucking great.
Yeah.
Fucking love it.
And it's great looking back on them things, talking about walking out the Astoria, and to people who will be listening who don't know what the Astoria is. It was just a great venue. There was the Mean Fiddler, which was kind of underneath it, and you had the Astoria, about 2,500 people, and it was where every gig that was good happened there. And I used to love walking out of that, meeting up with your mates, and feel like you've just won a battle. You'd be sweaty as fuck, nipping into McDonald's, trying to get to fucking Victoria or wherever to get the train back to Streatham or what have you.
Yeah.
And
we know that feeling.
But sitting there with your T-shirt that you bought or your poster, sweating, and that cold air hitting your sweat, and then you start to fucking feel freezing. Then if you miss the last bus, you'd have to walk, and you do that kind of fast drunk walk where you think you're walking really fast, but you're not. You're just walking at an angle. And they were the best times. And I love that. And I'm quite a nostalgic person. And I think about fucking the first time I saw Metallica and first time I saw Killswitch. That's a big one for me. And first time I saw Nevermore, they were supporting Disturbed. I paid 35 quid to see Nevermore, mate. And I fucking half an hour set. I was off. I was like, cheers, lovely jubbly, off I go. And it was just, but that thing of walking out at them venues, like say as kids, youngsters, and just being like talking about every moment of that gig and talking about certain songs and which songs they play the best. And that's what I love about touring now. We went out on that tour in December. We'd get in the van with mountain cooler, get a little bit of chill music on, get the cards out, get a beer, and we'd just be talking. We're all the same sort of age. We'll all be talking about it. Apart from our young sound guy, the young whippersnapper Tom, we'd be just talking about it. And it's the closest thing that I've probably had to them kind of important teen years. And yeah, what a buzz.
Yeah. That's exactly why we do this.
I nearly got arrested after seeing my first gig at the Astoria. So yeah.
Fucking hell.
Squared up to a police officer.
Who would have seen that coming? Fucking hell.
Yeah.
I missed. I couldn't get home after the first gig I went there, and I had to go and stay at my nan's in London. And I was like, I don't know how to get there. I just didn't know. I just wasn't. It was like a different. It was like weird. Oh, you're getting that bus, and it took me ages. And all of a sudden, it's like that scene in Home Alone 2 where he's walking through the city at night. And all of a sudden, everyone looks like a fucking nutter. And I was walking through London. I was like, oh, no, I'm going to die. And, yeah, it was quality. It's quality. And I remember going to see, fucking hell, whoever it was at the Mean Fiddler, would have been someone over from the States. And the mate had a Lamb of God shirt. It's about 2003. My mate Nick Evans had a Lamb of God shirt. And we walked past the preacher that used to be there.
Yeah.
And we walked past him and went, yes, Lamb of God. That's what I like to see. And I was screaming. I was going mental. And yeah, it used to just be a buzz. And, you know, you'd bunk off of school and nip up there. And I'm jealous of the youngsters. Like in the summer, we played Milan with Gajira, and it was the hottest I've ever been. We turn up at the venue, fucking roasting, and there must be about 4,000, 5,000 kids outside, like fever pitch. And it was one of the best shows we've ever. It's probably the best show we've ever played. And I was like, fucking hell, I am jealous. Not to be fair, I would have burnt and died, but I was like, what an exciting time that must be for all of them waiting to see Gajira. So,
yeah.
But anyway, lads, I could probably talk about music all night. So,
Well, this is like I keep saying, this is why we do this. This is why we sit here every week and fucking do this. So it's,
that's quality.
Escapism from normal life. But look, thanks so much for coming on, doing that. It's fucking great to hear it. All the stuff you're going to take. You can take Dream Theater with you, and I'll put take them with you. They can stay there, not come back. And but thanks for doing it. And,
I hope to
see you
see
at some
you
point in the fucking UK.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm waiting. I've noticed every show I look out into the crowd, sort of nod my head and realise that you've let me down. I
had a ticket. I bought a ticket, so at least
good.
So
I've got your money.
Yeah, you got my money, so at least I made a contribution. That's the most important.
Well, let's see. Fingers crossed something comes up, but we've got to start. We are writing at the moment, so it'd be cool to do. Maybe one more hometown thing before we go and do the third album. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Wicked. Look forward to that. All right. Thanks for doing that. It was really cool fun. I'm not sure what we've got coming on next. I believe the next episode we've got will be with Mortar Skull. Fucking great album.
Okay.
It's dropping this week. So make sure you check that out next week. But yeah, until that point, thanks everybody for listening. Hope you've enjoyed it. Stay metal, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Cool.